Hi everyone. Today we'll talk about the book written by Edward Howard Carr, The 20 Years Crisis, 1919-1939. The book examines the period between the First and Second World Wars and the failure of League of Nations in maintaining world peace. The author provides a detailed analysis of the political, economic, and social factors that contributed to the crisis, as well as the idealistic ideas that failed in practice. Now my colleague will tell you about author.
20 Years Crisis was primarily written by Edward Carr to express his practical point of view and to criticize idealistic, or as he put it, utopist international viewpoints. He published his work in 1939, just before World War II broke out. He was the first modern realist and he gave leaders, particularly Chamberlain, covert advice to preserve the broad status quo in international relations while implementing little adjustments. This is also why he didn't worry about German revisions on map and on treaties.
Our structure. In order to fully highlight the most interesting, in our opinion, chapters, the scope of this analysis will focus more on the first two parts of the book. However, we will make a pool of the key points and the main ideas based on the full volume of the book. Firstly, Elizabeth will tell about the first three chapters to highlight the most interesting or important parts of them. Secondly, I will speak about chapter 4, where the authors analyzed popular theories of that time, how they changed the perception of international order and how evolutionized. As we are very familiar with the conceptions of realism and power in politics, we will not concentrate the analysis on those chapters. After that, we will make a list of bullet points to show what we understood from that book.
Carr begins by defining the optimism in the international system of the post-World War I era, which he attributes to the unsuccessful efforts to establish and use the League of Nations in the international sphere. He also discusses the declarations made by the League of Nations and many international treaties that aim to permanently preclude any form of interstate violence, which he views as a mere fantasy or utopia. He emphasizes that the realities of turmoil and insecurity in the international system easily destroyed and erased logical and carefully considered concepts and plans for peace and cooperation among states. Carr criticizes utopian theories harshly and, in some instances, even mockingly, for forgetting about liberal or idealist theories. There is an important element in Carr's book that sets him apart from many contemporary realists. He does not view human advancement as a lie. Instead, he believes in human evolution and asserts that, despite the chaotic and selfish character of humanity, the future will be better than the present. He believes that people can grow and get beyond their inherent cruelty. He emphasizes the significance of morality in both inter- and intrapersonal relationships. According to him, morality will be a unique human virtue that contributes to a future that is more peaceful and stable.
As for the fourth chapter, it focuses on many concepts such as ethics, rationalism, laissez-faire school of political economy created by Adam Smith, Darwinism, etc. Chapter starts with the philosophical problem around the form of the government. One approach states that politics should be regarded as a function of ethics, and the other view is the opposite: ethics is a function of politics. It is clear that authors support the second claim. They argue that the realist, therefore, unlike the institutionalist, has a perfectly rational answer to the question why the individual should submit. He should submit because otherwise the stronger will compel him. Second aim of the chapter is to observe the doctrine of the harmony of interest. No state control, invisible hand of the market, and so on. Also, authors attempt to answer the question why Adam Smith's theory remained so influential despite the technological progress after that and overall lack of relevancy of it. It should be on the slide on the right side. Another interesting idea covered in this chapter is a liberal philosophy of nationalism, which believe that nations, by developing their own nationalism, will promote internationalism. Mazzini and Wilson, authors say, so in national self-determination, the key to world peace. After that, Carr introduces the concept of Darwinism in politics, doctrine of evolution through struggle for life and the elimination of the unfit. However, authors did not overlook the problem of morality with approach. With the reference to Dostoevsky, price of admission to the eternal harmony was too high if it included the sufferings of the innocent. After that, author elaborates on that thought by providing examples of the bankruptcy of the conception of morality. Now we will introduce some key points which we found the most relevant to our study of international relations. The first central idea of the book is that the international system was fundamentally flawed and generated conflict. Carr argues that the idealistic approach to international relations, based on the belief in the possibility of achieving peace through cooperation and collective security, is unfortunately unrealistic. The author point out that the balance of power is the dominant factor that shapes international relations and that the League of Nations failed because it did not recognize this fact. According to author, quote, the League of Nations was unreal because the assumption on which it was based were unreal. The second key idea of the book is that states act in their self-interest and prioritize national security. Carr argues that the League of Nations failed because many states were not willing to sacrifice their national interests for the sake of international peace. He pointed out that nationality continues to be the most potent force in the world. The author suggests that an essential feature of any approach to international relations should be the recognition of this reality. Another idea which we need to highlight is the concept of the balance of power. Carr writes that the balance of power is the most effective way of maintaining peace between states. He points out that it is the balance of power that prevents the emergence of a dominant state that can impose its will on other states, the Leviathan. His quote is, "The balance of power is not an invention of diplomats or statesmen, but a political fact that emerges spontaneously." The fourth main idea of the book is the concept of realism. Carr believes that realism is a more accurate way of understanding international relations than idealism. He suggests that realism is based on an accurate assessment of the nature of states and their interests. He also pointed out that, quote, realism emphasizes the egoistic interests of states and that it provides a more accurate framework for understanding international relations. And finally, international relations should be based on a pragmatic approach. Author argues that the idealistic approach to international relations was based on unfortunately unrealistic assumptions and that it failed in practice. Carr advocates a pragmatic approach that it is based on an accurate assessment of the world as it is rather than as we would like it to be. Overall, the 20 Years Crisis is a highly influential work in the field of international relations. The book presents a compelling argument that the idealistic approach to international relations is unrealistic in practice and that international relations should be based on a pragmatic approach. The author provides a detailed analysis of the political, economic, and social factors that contributed to the crisis and argue that the balance of power is the most effective way of maintaining peace between states. The book's emphasis on realism and the recognition of national interest is highly relevant in our reality today. Thank you for attention, and we hope that the presentation was interesting.